Hi there, today I wanted to bring you guys some useful information about adding square footage to properties. We're in the city of San Carlos, California, and this is my personal residence. When I first purchased this property, it was only 1,200 square feet. Today it sits at about 4,200 square feet. Let's do the math on that real quick. 1,100 square feet times 4,200 square feet. I don't know exactly what that is, but I'll leave it up to you to do the math on that. It's a huge gain. That's great, but once you add the square footage and you sell the property, you're only left with one problem: capital gains. How do you avoid it, or how do you minimize it? Well, if my spouse were sitting next to me or here, which she's here but not actually here, each of us are exempt $250,000. So I would be exempt $250,000. My wife would be exempt $250,000 for a combined money of $500,000. So if we were to sell this property 2 years after we purchased it, we would pay zero capital gains on the $500,000. Now, the numbers that I gave you it's a chunk. So this property is actually, if we sold it today, we would probably make about $1.5 million in profit. So we still have a tax problem of $1 million. But the $500,000, that's just given through the IRS. They say here, you know what? No capital gains there. Yes, we still have to pay on that $1 million, but hey, I love paying taxes. If I can pay taxes, if I can avoid paying taxes, then I love that as well. So let me walk you through some of the challenges that came with this project. I have 3 kids, me and my wife. We had to live in a tiny home for over a year. The first day that I bought the house, I already had my plans, my engineering, and everything ready to go. Because we dug down and we put a sunken movie theater down below, the soils report came back and it was nothing nice. The home actually came with a swimming pool as well, so we had to cover that up, and there was a lot of soil movement going on here. A soils report that we received said that we only had to go down 6 feet. When we had dug out the 6 feet, soils report came back and said dig down another 5 feet. So we were at about 11 feet. That may seem good or bad to you if you don't understand construction. What we have down below was a gift to us. Because we were not going to achieve that 8-foot clearance, that was going to limit the ability for us to have a sunken movie theater. But a negative actually turned into a positive. By the soils engineer requesting us to go down even further, it gave us that height, that clearance that we needed to actually have usable space. Yes, it's not recorded with the city of San Carlos, but it still adds tremendous amounts of value. So here we are in a space that was given to me completely free. When I first started dealing with this space down here below, is that we were only at about 5 feet. So think of, here's the ceiling, so we would have probably been about here. Can't really do much with that space. It was going to be a crawl space and it was just going to be for storage. Until something amazing happened, and that was the soils engineer came and says, I need you to keep going down. Most people would have said, oh God, no. The cost to throw dirt away, excavation, it was a disaster. My wife was like, God, you didn't calculate this? And I says, actually, it's a positive thing because now we have, 10-foot ceilings. What does that mean? Well, we're able to now have a sunken-in movie theater. Here in California in San Carlos, that is a big plus. But it came with headaches, it came with uncertainty, it came with a whole bunch of problems. Number one, we had to increase our cost in dumping the soil, excavations, cement, rebar, and everything. But think of this for 1 second. Would you have preferred 5 feet or spend an additional $75,000 to capture maybe another $200,000 to $300,000 at the time of your sale? One critical thing in construction is do not panic. Have experts that are there with you, but take it easy. Everything has a solution. Unless somebody falls off a roof or gets shot with a nail gun in the arm, or those things have happened. They also happen, but again, everything has a solution. Some of the other challenges were submitting the entire package to the city. Let's be frank. It takes about a year in the city of San Carlos to get full approval to add this type of square footage. So the architect that we were working, they work with me all the time, so it was easy to work with them. The structural engineer, on the other hand, that's another subject. It took a lot of time, a lot of effort. The calculations were like if we were building a high rise, so I had to keep asking them to bring that down. You see, with structural, if they give you a report that's just it's over calculated, your cost of construction can just skyrocket. The amount of beams and calculations that he's working on, if he just overbuilds, it really comes out of your pocket, especially with construction the way it is today, when wood has gone up 3 to 4 times the amount. That was definitely a challenge, but hey, we got over it. Next was definitely protecting trees around the area and just controlling the water that was going to be going onto the street. We had to build a tank here to store the water and then make sure that the water was within the property. Public works was not easy to deal with. In the end, it all came through. But it's easy to forget. The major challenges were definitely with my kids. We had this tiny home. We had moved here from a house that was 3,500 square feet, and we suffered. It was hard. It was difficult. I remember my kids being downstairs in the garage that we converted into a family room just because we didn't have any other place to go. But we had a vision. We wanted to add that square footage. We wanted to capture that immediate equity. And one thing is my kids really understand and learned from this process. They suffered a little bit, yes, but I believe that it was a tremendous amount of experience. Last night for dinner, they were talking about it a little bit, and they even mentioned, why don't we move again? My wife looks at me and kind of nudges and says, I don't want to do that. You see, we've done this method 4 different times. When we first started, we started in Fremont, California, and we had a small little house, and I remember a real estate agent telling me years ago, Juan, purchase the property, and within only 2 years, go ahead and sell it. Why? Because the same rule applies. I'm going to get $250,000 exemption, and so is my wife. Well, back then we were dealing with a small little property. We had made $140,000 in personal income through our property, and we paid 0 on taxes. That really sprung us out of Fremont, out of the city of Fremont, and brought us here to the peninsula, where we then went on to buy a property in Belmont, which we added square footage. We did another one in San Carlos, which we added square footage, and we kept adding and adding this square footage. Well, enough about me, and let's really talk about you. Let's talk about how you can take a property and add square footage. So with interest rates the way they are today, if you have a job and you have a great W-2 or a 1099 or you're making money, then you should buy a property. You should buy the smallest property in an area where large homes are selling. For example, here, most homes here are 2,000, 3,000, 3,500 square feet is pretty much where it caps out. So the key is to go into a neighborhood where you can find a tiny home on a good sized lot and go ahead and try to add the square footage. So you would obviously get pre-qualified by a lender. You would have a great agent that you can trust and that understands the vision or understands what you're trying to do in terms of adding square footage. Do me a favor, don't talk to an agent that does not have any experience. All they're going to do is discourage you from moving forward, telling you that, you know what, it's way over your head and it's just way too much work. My goal right now is to walk you through step by step. Number 1 is get a really good agent that understands how to add square footage so that you can benefit from maybe a list of contractors, a list of subs that she may have that you can bring under your wing so that you can follow through with your project. Number 2 is definitely identifying the property that you want to take and make sure it's one of the smallest homes in the area. Number 3, and before you close escrow, you must visit your local building department. Talk to them about setbacks. What are setbacks? Basically, setbacks are you cannot build from your property line to the home. So you want to make sure that what your vision is, it follows through with what the city would allow you to do. So for example, if you had a lot that went 15 feet in the back and the setback were, let's say, 10 feet, then you would have 5 feet of buildable space. Very important. Did I say very important? Make sure you visit your building department first. Once you get clearance from your building department and you understand it, you definitely want to go and hire an architect and hire, if you were like me, adding square footage down below, you want to hire a soils engineer and a structural engineer as well. This is very easy to find on Google within your area. You could interview as many as you like. Plenty of people there that would be able to help you. And remember the agent that I mentioned. This agent must come with some resources, some contractors or somebody that has helped her in the past. But don't stop there. Post on Craigslist for local people that are in your area. If you're in California, you can go to the CSLB and look at contractors that are available by the CSLB. Everybody's listed there. You can contact them. You can go to Google. You can search YouTube. The possibilities are endless. Man, ask your friends or family if they know any contractors that can add the square footage. Next thing you definitely want to do is submit all your documents as soon as possible to the building department. Here's a tip that I'm going to give you. If you know for sure that you're going to close on this property, meaning you're going to take possession of this home, and you have a month to close, why not start the planning phase during the close of escrow, before you even actually close? What does this do? You don't own the property, but yet you're getting ahead of the game. And that is always the key when building something like this, or when going and adding square footage. Remember, seasons change. Things come very quickly. If you drag your feet and you're stuck in the construction and it begins to rain and you have all these challenges going on, you're going to be pulling your hair out, or your hair is definitely going to be turning white. So now that you've got your plans, get ready to wait a little bit of time. So there is another couple of tips that I want to give you. So some cities will actually allow you to add 500 square feet. Now this is a wonderful play. Why? Because just adding 500 square feet, you can bypass a lot of the nosy neighbors that do not want you to build something. You see, in most cities you have to go ahead and send, I'm speaking of California, so if you're seeing this in a different state, make sure you check with your local building department. But here in California, you have to mail. Neighbors sometimes get involved. Oh, it's going to be too high. Oh, it's going to be too long, and all this stuff, which derails the project, and it makes the project a lot harder to obtain. Makes the project difficult with you getting your permit. So be on the lookout for that. But here's the workaround. Sometimes in a certain city, they say that if you add less than 500 square feet, number one, we don't have to notify anyone. And sometimes you can even get your plans approved in 2 to 3 weeks, 4 weeks. But again, make sure you check with your building department. Very, very important. So if this is your first deal and you're just exploring the idea, go small. Get that experience. Scale up as time goes by. So let's say you have your plans approved, and now what? Well, you've got to be in touch with that contractor. Take him out to lunch. Go out and have a drink with him. Invite him over to your existing house. Cook for the guy. Make the guy your best friend so that he's going to take care of you. You want to definitely get a contract with him. Have him cover everything. Labor, materials, absolutely everything. And make sure that he has workers' compensation insurance. Very important. Also, general liability is a must. So now you have your contractor. You can basically, 2 options. You can, if you have the money, leave, move somewhere else, or you can section off the house where you can live in one portion while the work is being completed. As the contractor goes through and completes the job, at that point, you're pretty much done. You would need to get all your final permits signed off. You would need to have the assessor recognize that now the square footage has actually changed. And now what do? You just wait for 2 years. And you take the exemption of $250,000 for yourself. And if you're lucky enough where you get closer to 500, I wish you do, and you have a spouse, then you can write off up to $250,000. Nothing's ever going to happen. So I hope that if you're excited, do me a favor, take action now. The time is right now. Do not waste another minute, another day. Take that first step. Contact that realtor. Contact a mortgage broker, see what you're qualified for, and I hope to see you out there in the construction world, hitting it hard, being exempt 250, or hey, 500, or take it even further, go and make $1 million. I hope this video was extremely informative to you, that it adds plenty of value. Reach out if you have any questions. I'll make sure to answer all comments and do the best job I can to add more value to you. Continue to follow me and watch me because I will be dropping amazing content here on YouTube. So we'll see you soon. Bang!